Hello, everybody. Mr. Hinnon here. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just going over the Build a Better Thermos project for everybody, the Shark Tank edition. So first off, if you are not familiar with Shark Tank, you'll need to watch the video that shows a couple of people actually doing some Shark Tank pitches. And the idea of Shark Tank is there are these investors that have money, and you are trying to tell them why they should invest in your particular project. And by doing that, you are basically indicating information about your product. So one of the things you're going to be doing is building a thermos. And my example I always start off with is I have my little Bubba cup that I use here every day. It's what keeps my drink cold, whether it's water or soda. Usually it's Diet Mountain Dew. That's my drink of choice. And so I think about a cup like this, or if you think about a Yeti cup or a Hydro Flask, all of those are designed to keep a drink cold or to keep a drink hot. If you put hot coffee in here, it's designed to keep it warm. So the idea is you're going to be building your own. So one of the things as you go through here is I give some information about what it can be and can't be and certain design constraints. I don't want it too huge. It needs to be able to fit in my hand. So kind of keep that in mind. It needs to be able to hold at least 12 fluid ounces of water, which is 355 milliliters. Needs to be structurally sound and not fall apart. It has to have a removable lid and a place so I can actually put the temperature probe in. That's actually more for the in-person people, but I still want you to have a removable lid and a place basically for a straw. So think about a straw. You're going to be selling a straw with it or some kind of opening for it. So the first thing you should really be doing is you should research the project. So you should research the problem and brainstorm some solutions. How are you going to keep it cold? What heat transfer methods are involved? That's the reason why we're doing this project. What makes other thermoses work so well? What are they doing that's working on it? But also think about it in terms of Shark Tank. I want you to think of some potential customers who would want your drink or your thermos. Why are you creating that? Think of some ideas. Take that research, take those ideas, put them together. So that's what step number 2 is. Then you're going to build one. This is an example from a few years ago. It was called the Keep It, and this was their little logo. So the idea was keep it hot or keep it cool. That was what this was designed to do. So this was their Keep It. And if you notice, if you read earlier, there are certain things you can use for the core or for your materials. So this was an example. It does have a removable lid, so they can take the lid off, so I can pour this liquid in there. The lid does actually have a hole in it, so I can actually put my temperature probe in there or put a straw in there. And it's pretty structurally sound. It doesn't fall apart, and it fits in my hand. So those were all different things they tested, as well as some other stuff. Make sure in your prototype you give me a couple of cutaway pictures. So the idea is, imagine if I were to cut this in half, what would it look like? And another one is a top view. What does it look like from above? So you can either create that electronically or you could draw it by hand and then add those pictures in. You should also keep track of the cost of your materials. What does it cost to actually make one of these? Because when you sell this to the sharks, the idea is you're going to say, this costs $3 to make, but my plan is to sell it for $10. So it's a $7 profit, and that gives them something to go off of. So you need to track all that information in your data. Then you're going to test it. Some of them are really easy. Does it stay in your hand? Will it hold 12 fluid ounces? Is it structurally sound? But the biggest thing is insulation. And I put on here, will it keep a set amount of ice from melting? I think the best way to do that is actually put ice in your drink or in your container, and every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, whatever, periodically pour out some of the liquid and measure how much liquid is actually coming. So that what you're doing is you're basically measuring how well it's keeping the ice cold, how well it's keeping the ice from melting. So it's protecting it from heat getting into your cup transferred into your cup and into the ice. That's probably an easy one to do. Since not everybody has a thermometer to measure hot temperature in the lab, I would tell you to take this and fill it with hot water. And then we would put a temperature probe in there and watch as the temperature decreases over time, but not everybody has a thermometer to be able to do that. If you do, go ahead and do that one test as well. Either test will work. You're going to put it all into a data table so you can present it in your Google slide. You're going to eventually do a presentation. So if you read this, it says you will present your final design to the rest of the class. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to be making a Google slide, and I would suggest Screencastify. It's something that will actually connect on your Chromebook. It's what I'm using right now. It allows you to see me if you want to. You don't have to, but you can also hear me, and it'll allow you to manipulate whatever document you're on at the same time that you're presenting, and then you can take that video and you're going to upload it into Flipgrid. And so I will be looking at it. If you're one of these people that doesn't want people to see you, then as long as you have audio that goes with it, is perfectly fine, but it needs to have some kind of presentation part to it. So keep that in mind. And when you look at those Shark Tank pitches, you'll get a better idea. And then think about who would want to buy it, how much they should invest, things like that. The beginning of every Shark Tank, you will notice that they will say, I am asking for X amount of money for X% in my company. So typically they might say, I'm looking for $100,000 for a 5% investment in my company, or a 5% part of the company. So the idea is you're asking for money from them and you're giving them a portion of your company to do that. So keep that in mind when you're actually creating your little Shark Tank presentation. That's the actual lab. That's the project. That's what we're actually doing. You're creating this thermos, you're testing it, and then you're presenting it to us like you've just created the next best Yeti, the next best Hydro Flask, whatever you're going to call it. You also will get a chance to test for some extra points. My in-person people, we're going to be testing how well it keeps hot water hot. My remote students, I need you to test how well it will keep water from melting, or ice from melting, I should say, not water, but ice from melting. So I give that information in the purple and the green sections here. So here's the purple for in-person, the green for that. Everything must be posted by the end of the day on Friday, November 13th. So Friday the 13th is when we're doing it. And for my in-person people, when we do our study, we're going to be doing that on Friday. So that group that is here on Friday the 13th, you will be testing it then. That way, everybody's group, if you are a Thursday group, I think that's an A group, is Thursday the 12th, you'll need to bring in your thermos on Thursday so that we can actually test it. And then at the very end of this, I give a rubric. Where do I break down the points? Basically 5 points for 5 different categories, and that gives me a total of 25 points. So it's kind of like a quiz grade. That would be the best way to kind of think of this. So I hope that helped explain this project. I think it's a lot of fun. I added the Shark Tank edition portion to it a few years ago due to a suggestion by some students, and I think it should be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it. So take care, and I look forward to seeing your thermoses.